Hello, my name is Joe Day and welcome to the Kildalton Sheep Unit. My aim in this recording is to outline to you the factors that can lead to a sustainable production cycle for a mid-season lambing sheep flock. To begin with, we will look at the factors to consider when you sit down to plan out when lambing should occur. Here in Kildalton College in Piltown, County Kilkenny, we are what's known as a lowland sheep farm with relatively dry soil. Farms such as this will time their planned mating season so that indoor lambing will occur in February or March. More exposed hill or mountain type land tend to have sheep enterprises that lamb down from April onwards, as they tend to lamb the ewes outside so that there will be less losses as the weather improves. Ewes will naturally start cycling as the day length reduces in the autumn, so if you want them to conceive in late summer, you would need to sponge them using a progesterone sponge and give them some PMSG in order to have a viable litter size lambing in December or early January. This would be classified as early lamb production. When you know your market for the lambs, you then need to work back from your intended sale date to work out how long from lambing it will take to get them to the required market weight and when to lamb the ewes. So for example, if you aim to sell the final, say, 10 to 15% of your lambs as what's known as store lambs for other farmers to fatten over the winter, you will need them weighing over 30 kgs live weight by September. If you aim to sell some of them of the early born female lambs as replacement ewe lambs, they will need to be over 45 kg weight by autumn for breeding. From a practical and financial point of view, one of the key things to consider when planning to lamb down the ewes is when does grass start to grow on the farm. In the past decade, we've seen a lot of farms move from January and February lambing to more and more of these farms lambing down in early March. On those farms, it means that ewes with lambs at foot can go to grass very soon after lambing, as there's a supply of grass, but it also requires less inputs than lambing earlier in the year. Another practical consideration when planning lambing is what level of labour will be available and what types of facilities you will have in terms of lambing pens, etc. The later you lamb down the ewes in the spring, the shorter the time frame you will have ewes and lambs inside for. So you will need less space and facilities. Some farmers have gone down the route of lambing outdoors from mid to late March onwards. The final factor to consider is what level of output you are aiming for. In general, the earlier you lamb down, the higher the stocking rate you will carry and the greater your output. But because of additional feed and housing expenses with lambing very early in the year, it does not automatically mean more profit for the farmer. This is why we're asking the question today, how can you make a mid-season lambing enterprise sustainable? Flock assembly is a chance for the farmer to cull out any problem or unproductive ewes from the flock. It gives a window to administer vaccinations to breeding females against abortifacients like toxoplasmosis, and involves going through the ewes and rams and doing physical checks as well as going back over various records. When assessing the ewes, it's important to check their teeth are okay, especially if they will be grazing crops such as fodder beet or turnips over the winter. Ewes with what are called broken mouths find it harder to retain body condition. Next, you should check to see if the mammary gland or udder has any cuts or lumps or has been damaged by infection during lactation. There is no point in retaining ewes with damaged udders. Then you should check their feet. Constantly lame ewes will greatly increase the workload on a farm as well as increase the level of infection in a flock and can reduce litter size. Ewes' body condition score and result in poor animal welfare. After that, the general health of the ewe in terms of eyes and feet, etc. should be considered. The main records to look at when deciding to keep or cull a ewe is the number of lambs she reared and what issues such as prolapse or lambing difficulties she might have had in the recent past. When assessing the rams, it's important to check if that they have a full mouth, check their teeth, and no discharge from the eyes or nose, as well as checking their fleece. Next, you should check to see if the chest area is free from cuts or sores, as this will be taking a lot of their body weight when mating. You should examine the ram's penis so that it will make sure that it's free from any sores or infections or discharge, and then check to see that the scrotum is not injured and that the two testicles are firm, free-moving and evenly sized. The epididymis is at the base of the testicles and it's there that the sperm is stored, so it's important to make sure that this has not been damaged either. Finally, in terms of physical checks, it's very important to make sure that the ram has a good body condition score of coming on to 4, as it will lose condition during the mating season, so it needs to be in good order. As the rams will contribute half the genetics to the flock, it's vital to invest in a ram with good shape and size, but also good breeding data. Sheep Ireland have developed terminal and maternal indices which help you select rams whose offspring are ideal for slaughter, as well as rams whose daughters are worth keeping as replacements. Flushing is where ewes are given good grass for 3 to 4 weeks pre-mating after being restricted onto a maintenance diet. The benefit of flushing is that ewes who have gained good body condition tend to cycle quicker than thinner ewes, and it's important to get the ram to ewe ratio correct at the start of mating, as too big a workload on rams can result in lower conception rates in their size. One mature ram should cover 40 mature ewes or 25 ewe lambs, and one ram lamb should be able to cover 25 mature ewes. It's advisable to dag the ewes pre-mating and allow the rams with the ewes for 4 weeks to allow repeat cycles. Some farmers will put a teaser ram with the flock for about 4 days to help bring the ewes into heat initially, and then introduce the breeding rams 14 to 16 days later. This has been shown to increase the amount of ewes in heat when the rams are introduced. Raddle a ram, as it will help keep track of the ewes that are mated or not mated, and those that are mated in repeat cycles. Always start with a light colour like yellow and work towards colours like green, red, blue and black by changing the colour every 14 days. On average, a ewe is pregnant for approximately 145 to 147 days. This allows us to divide pregnancy into 3 phases of 7 weeks each. The aim of the first phase of pregnancy is to maintain the ewes as stress-free as possible to allow for the implanting of the embryo in the uterus. Stress from transport or handling, or even from under or overfeeding the ewes in this phase should be avoided. Mid-pregnancy goes from weeks 8 to 14. The fetus in the womb will only be about 25% of its final weight at week 14. Ideally, the ewes will be pregnancy scanned at 80 to 90 days post-mating. This allows then for grouping of ewes according to lambing dates, as well as selling off barren ewes. Mid-pregnancy is a chance to address any healthcare issues like lameness, the treatment of parasites like fluke or worms at housing, and also a chance to give ARF vaccine, which is known as the scratch vaccine. About 75% of the final lamb birth weight is formed in the final 7 weeks of pregnancy. This would be approximately 3.75 kgs of a lamb born at 5 kg birth weight. Thin or multiple lamb-bearing ewes will need supplementary feeding along with ad-lib forage such as grass silage. The extra energy and protein from the concentrate is required for the development of the fetus to ensure quality and quantity of colostrum and milk. The main problems in this phase can be prolapse, twin lamb disease and milk fever. Depending on the product to be used, late pregnancy is the best window for the annual vaccination against clostridial diseases. Immediately post-lambing, the priority is to get the lamb breathing, dry and standing, as well as apply iodine to its navel to protect it from infection. The next step is to make sure the ewe has milk and that the lamb gets colostrum as soon as it can stand to suckle from the udder. The colostrum will supply energy and antibodies, as well as being a laxative. Once the ewe and lamb have bonded, the tasks like recording parentage, gender, birth weight, lambing difficulty, as well as tail docking or castrating and tagging the lamb can be taken care of. Then the next step after that is to get the ewes and lambs to grass as soon as weather and the availability of grass allows. It is best to identify possible ewe lambs replacements at this point. Ewes rearing more than one lamb may require meal feeding from 2 to 3 weeks post-lambing. Magnesium will need to be added to the ewe's diet in mineral buckets or in the concentrate to prevent grass tetany in ewes. Scald is quite often the first source of lameness a lamb will encounter. Once the weather becomes mild but still damp, you will then start to see the effect of hatching out of parasite worms also. It's best to talk to your vet and use technologies such as fecal egg counts before treating lambs for parasites, as there is a lot of resistance building up in Irish sheep farms to products that we have been using to kill parasites in sheep flocks. Weaning usually occurs at between 12 to 14 weeks post-lambing, and at this point in summer it will be necessary to manage shearing, prevention of blowfly strike and possible cobalt deficiency in lambs on some farms. Once the first draft of lambs for sale has occurred, it's commonplace to weigh the lambs every 2 weeks from then, so as none get over fat or too heavy for the target market. Once the lambs are weaned from the ewes, their average daily gain will drop off, so it's important to keep grass quality as high as possible for them, and where the quality or quantity reduces, you may need to feed concentrates to keep them gaining weight. Female lambs will lay down fat at a lower weight than a male lamb, so it's important to weigh them regularly. The kill out of the lambs will also reduce as they get older. This means you will need to sell heavier lambs to produce the same carcass weight as when the kill out percentage was higher earlier on. It's normal practice to reduce the ewes intake post-weaning to dry off the milk supply, and then you need to watch for mastitis. So now that we have an overview of the mid-season lamb production cycle, the question is how to make it sustainable. In Kildalton College, we think there are 12 steps to a sustainable sheep enterprise. First is to maximise grass or other forage in the diet, as long as it's of top quality. Grazed grass is more than 3 times cheaper than concentrates on a kg dry matter basis. Number 2, get the stocking rate correct. This will be based on the land type, breed, management and time available, as well as the facilities and the expected or required level of profit. The third is to have a nutrient management plan and take regular soil samples. Don't waste money on nutrients that are not needed and miss out on investing on lime or nutrients that are required. Think about how and where nutrients are being spread on the farm, and more importantly, in what form. Have a plan for breeding as the 4th step. Use Sheep Ireland to help advise on suitable terminal or maternal rams, and don't keep unproductive ewes. Step 5. Have a reseeding plan and look to incorporate clover into the sward where possible. And of course, to manage grass, you must measure it, so get measuring the grass. The 6th step is to draw up a flock health plan with your vet and focus on prevention and biosecurity. We will see a greater use of vaccines and fecal egg counts in the coming years on our sheep farms, and this is especially important on the intensive or highly stocked farms. The 7th step is to join the Board BA Quality Assurance Scheme and become aware of its requirements and its benefits. Number 8 is to be open to new research on things like multi-species squads, which have benefits for the environment as well as animal health and performance. Farmers often join discussion groups to stay up to date with these things, but also for the social benefit. Number 9, make it an enjoyable enterprise by investing in good infrastructure and facilities, especially in good fencing and handling facilities. Step 10 is make it a productive and profitable enterprise. Set certain targets. Successful farmers are the ones that are open to reviewing past performance and adapting as required. As obvious as it may sound, the next one is to make sure to make it a safe enterprise for both the farmer and those entering the farm. And the final and 12th step is become more aware of the land and environment the flock is based on and look to enhance it. For example, through the national Agri environmental schemes. This could mean protecting streams in the farm, as well as maybe questioning the application method and form of nitrogen and other nutrients applied to grassland. But equally, it's about enhancing existing habitats in the farm. In summary, a sustainable sheep enterprise requires a lot of planning, skill and hard work, but can be both profitable and beneficial to the farmer, but also to the environment around which the sheep farm is based.